is college a waste of money for entrepreneurs? And really something that really stood out to me about this article was that roughly the same amount of entrepreneurs that graduate with a college degree, there's roughly the same amount of entrepreneurs that do not go to college. So there is a pretty big mix of entrepreneurs on whether they go to college or not. And I feel like in today's world, that's become a more prominent question, especially with the way technology is, social media, how just everything's evolved. And it's crazy. I mean, there is like a $1.7 trillion student debt crisis that's going on right now, and tons of people are struggling with that. Now, despite college, yes, there are various networking opportunities and cultural experiences and potentially getting out of your hometown, but is it really worth it to potentially pay up to $50,000 a year if you're going out of state, or even at a minimum you're going to be spending about $100,000 just to go get that degree. So I think people really need to consider, if you have that idea, if you can get capital, if you can obtain the skills yourself. What are your guys' thoughts on that, on going to college as an entrepreneur?
I really think that it depends on what business that you want to start. If you are interested in entrepreneurship, for the majority of them, you don't need to go to college. If you want to be a lawyer and open your own practice, that's a form of entrepreneurship. You need to go to law school. Same thing for your own practice as a doctor, an accounting service. But if you want to just get into a startup from the ground up, as long as you have the framework that you think you need to take yourself forward, I would rather argue that if you don't think you're ready to jump into the business yet, maybe college isn't the right answer, but you need to go out and work in that industry for a period of time until you think you're ready to make that leap. There's a couple people, some people that could just bootstrap their way right out of college, or right out of high school, which is great depending on which route you go. But for the most part, most people, entrepreneurs, they don't really know what company they want to start until they work in their industry and then maybe branch off of that. Like we talked about the robotics guys in yesterday's episode. Mitch Tolson worked for Miso Robotics before he started Ally Robotics. And so I think it really just depends on, if you know what you want to do, then you can just go hop and work in that industry or just get started on your company right away. So I wouldn't go to college.
Yeah, I'd say for about 90% of businesses that you want to start, you really don't need college, but you still got to get educated somehow. So you got to go through like the school of hard knocks. So if you want to start like an outdoor, remodeling business, I think you should go and work in that industry for 2-3 years, familiarize yourself with all the contracts necessary, how the business ebbs and flows, and then you can also see how other companies, what systems they're using, and take some ideas from the companies that you work in and implement them into your own, and then also make some changes that you think are better into your own business when you want to start that. But ultimately, I think some form of education is important, but that doesn't always mean that that education is necessarily college.
Right, and I think a lot of it really depends on kind of like the resources and the opportunities that are kind of present to you at that time. But I think a big misconception that a lot of people have is they think that if you don't have it figured out, like when you're done with high school, they say go to college and get it figured out. But it's like that's, in my opinion, just an ultimately massive waste of time and money. Because if you're just going to go and spend a ton of money and you're switching majors 3 or 4 different times because you're not settled on anything, it's like, in my opinion, I think it's probably smarter for people to like take a gap year, do a lot of self-reflection, figure out what you're passionate about, like what you want to do, and then go in that direction, figure out whether you do need to go to college for that or not. Because yes, like you guys said, if you're trying to pursue a career like law, certain aspects of business like accounting maybe, or you want to go to medical school and be a doctor or surgeon, whatever it may be, then sure, college is definitely going to be your way to go. But I think for so many, especially like talking about like entrepreneurs and like general business route, I just think that it's the return on investment's not there anymore, and quite frankly, it's outdated.
100%. And I think that the argument that, if you want to, like, the networking aspect of college is a reason for you to go, I think is it should be completely debunked. When you could still network with the people at different colleges without actually having to attend there. Yeah. You could still get those networking benefits. But a better way to network is actually going out and talking to people in the spaces that you want to be in. Yeah. Go spend time there. Taking on a bunch of debt, or even not taking a bunch of debt, it's still a time debt of 4 years that you're spending to go to college. Just for the networking aspects, you can network in any environment pretty much. Mainly, if you figure out what company you want to start or what industry you want to get into to potentially start a company later, go talk to the people in that industry that are working there now. if you want to be a startup founder, go to like one of these startup incubators, you know, especially in a city like Austin, and basically just say like, hey, where can I provide value? Just be able to learn from these founders. Maybe you work as an employee in one of them for a little bit of time. You guys have a great exit, you make a lot of money, and then you start your business right there. And then you're on your way to being, you know, a really serious entrepreneur. But, you know, if people saying like, oh, you know, go to college, you know, even if you don't want to use your degree after, you're still going to network with a lot of people. It's total BS. It just really is. Like, you can still network with people at different colleges through LinkedIn. You're like, oh, I want, like, let's say, you know, Josh, you came down here and, you know, you didn't go to school. You literally like could hit up a bunch of these people on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'm new to Austin. I have a couple friends to go to UT, but I'm really interested in working on this for my business. Would you be interested in helping me out or something like that?
And would you want to meet for some coffee?
Treat them to coffee.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay $100,000 out of state debt for that.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to if you're going to network or if you want to network, you will. If you aren't going to network, you won't. It's ultimately up to you at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you go to college or if you don't. Ultimately, it's if you're willing to actually reach out to people and put in the effort and ultimately like network that way.
Yeah, I mean, most of the college curriculum is pretty much designed for you to get set up to go work a job. It's not designed for entrepreneurs. Like I said, I had that one professor that basically said he taught Michael Dell in his class, and he would always see Michael Dell just get up and leave or just not go to class because Michael Dell was just building Dell computers. And if anything, that just motivates people not to want to go to class because it's just like they don't need it. Because in class, they're just setting them up to want to go try to get a job and go to the workforce, which is what you want to do. That's fine. But for an entrepreneur, if you already have your head set on an idea or something like that, you just need to go for it.
Yeah, and I'm honestly curious, you know, because you recently graduated. How many people have you met throughout your college experience that you think could truly help you in your future business endeavors?
I would say a couple. But the thing at the end of the day is a lot of people are, you know, at the end of the day, their biggest priority is their own career and stuff like that. So you can't ever really like count on, you know, people down the road. Like if you think that like, oh, something would pan out. I think that I've met a lot of great people at UT, and there's a couple people doing really cool things that I would like love to stay connected to. And, you know, maybe there could be a potential partnership. But I think that either way, if I really wanted to, I mean, I meet a ton of people like that outside of UT. So I think it's just like a general path of life and getting to know really great people and cool people. I think UT helped me meet those specific people, but I don't necessarily think UT, no shade to UT, just the college experience in general, helped accelerate my networking in any way. I think what we did with the School of Hard Knocks, just going and talking to so many people in downtown Austin in these wealthy areas, was far more an accelerated way to network. 10x versus what I was able to do at UT Austin.
Well, I think that just about wraps up episode 3 today. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in to The Daily Entrepreneur. James, Jack, and Josh got a lot more of these coming. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned.